What is up, winning wealthers? We're back. It's Jeff and Brock, B-Rock. We have an exciting, fun episode today for those of you that want to make your first $1 million. How do you stack away your first $1 million in either cash or equity? We're going to talk through some of the strategies that we think could get somebody that is not necessarily, a genius in technology or whatever. We're talking about the common everyday person that's got some hustle, got some grit, and wants to get after it and go out there and become a millionaire in 2024, or at least set the building blocks and the pieces in place to become a millionaire in a few years. And so going to be an exciting episode. Tune in. Definitely, if you're getting value out of this show, smash the hell out of that like button and subscribe. Tell your friends, tell your family. We want to build this thing. We've got a goal of 1,000 subscribers on YouTube by the end of 2024. So anything you can do to help us out there would be great. Should we get into it, B-Rock?
Let's do it.
That's me in a nutshell. You're almost too. But maybe we do that after. I don't think we were that close. First things first, if you want to become a millionaire, no matter what, and we've talked about this time and time again on this show, but you got to study up on different strategies. So we're going to go over a few of them today, and then you've got to pick a lane, right? You got to pick the one that resonates with you the most, that you think your skill set and your abilities and your connections aligns with the most. And then you've got to get really educated. So that's spending time in, reading, studying, reading books on it, listening to podcasts on it, paying for coaching programs, right? I can't tell you how many books I've read about real estate, about sales, about business, because those are all part of my goals. And I also talk about this too, but writing down your goals so that it programs your subconscious about what it is that you want. And then so you're thinking about it, even when you're not thinking about it, you're sleeping. I dream about it, and then you take deliberate focus and you find, study the books, you find coaching programs, whether that's, Udemy, you can do them for $15. I still do this. I did a industrial real estate course on Udemy. It was like $15, specifically about underwriting industrial deals. I know how to do them, but I was like, you know what? I think I could learn a little bit more here. It's worth $15. And then all the way up to paying, $30,000 for coaching programs, which we've done. We're in one right now about launching funds, like a real estate fund, but I've done them about buying businesses. I've done them about buying apartment buildings. I've done them, finding coaches. So the first thing, you got to pick a path, get educated, and obtain some experience.
So we're going to go through the 4 strategies we put together here. And then stick around at the end and we'll share a bonus business idea that someone could directly implement that we think could be $1 million business idea.
Yep.
So let's go into the first one, buying an existing business.
Yeah.
I'll let you talk to this one.
Yeah. I mean, I think, so I haven't bought a business yet. I've looked at buying plenty of them. Over the last couple of years, I paid to be part of a mastermind called the Acquisition Lab. If you guys are familiar with Walker Deibel's book, Buy, Then Build, Walker's actually going to be in Miami on February 7th. That's a little off-the-cuff stuff. So we could have dinner with him. I talked to him.
Let's do it.
That could be fun because I'll be in Miami visiting Brock the 6th through the 13th of February. So anyways, so there's, everybody thinks the problem with starting a business is the rate of failure. And I've tried to start a lot of businesses that didn't go anywhere, right? Either because I suck or the plan sucked or the timing was too early. Now I think back on some of them and I'm like, man, if I would have just stuck with it for 10 years, I'd be making millions of dollars a year, but I didn't. And so, for whatever reason, it's getting that initial traction is the hardest part. So what you could do, it's very similar to buying real estate, and that's what excites me about it, is you can buy an existing business that's got a track record. And the other part that I think this is such a good idea from is because there's so many baby boomers that are retiring, right? And they've built up businesses over the last 2-3 decades, that have a loyal customer base, They have a staff, employees in place. And maybe the guy, the owner, the guy or gal is 65 years old and they're looking to retire, and they, maybe they have kids or don't have kids, or the kids don't want to be part of the business. The kid wants to do TikTok, become Instagram famous, or something, right? And, so the business is left to either, sometimes they just literally unwind and their competitors get their revenue. And so you can go in and find a business that, might need a lot of, or could benefit from new strategies within online marketing, content marketing, social media, pay per click. Maybe the website, what I look for is websites that are old, and they look like they were built like .NET, built in like the 90s, right? And they just kept it going, right? And you can look at ways to optimize these businesses with systems, strategies, with technology, and put things in place to really streamline things, which will increase revenue and can, optimize your expenses and improve your profit margins. And so the thing is, like, if you were to buy an existing business, and I'm literally looking at one right now.
Maybe I was going to say, maybe we give an example, like to highlight what, like my thought when I think of that is like an HVAC business or a painting company, right?
Exactly.
Like if you think about your dad's friends, right?
100%.
Like my dad has several friends that own an HVAC business or a painting company.
Yeah.
They're 60 something years old, like they're winding down, and they're likely just gonna, send out a message to all their clients and say, hey, I'm retiring, I'm done. And they're out, right? And those sort of businesses you can come in, buy that already are producing, already have a customer base.
Yeah.
And you tweak some things, right? Add some digital marketing in, take kind of the, a lot of these, they don't even have a website, right? They might have a business card.
Yeah.
And it'd say, call me if you need anything.
Yeah.
You implement some processes, some enhanced marketing, which being a younger generation, right? We understand that stuff more. We understand how an online presence and having a social media account really grows. So, I think it's a great idea to kind of combine those two forces.
Yeah. Let's just, so an example right now, a business partner and I are under contract to buy a commercial and industrial painting company, which I love because it fits in really well with our real estate business. I'm looking for service-based businesses in southeastern Wisconsin that offer services to someone that would own a real estate portfolio, right? Because we do. And so if you could find some synergies there, and I have a lot of friends that do, that I could offer the services to. So let's take the painting company in general, right? So, and I'm just going to do rough numbers, but I want to break it down for the listeners, right? So, because it's actually really, the SBA, Small Business Administration in the U.S., makes it very easy to buy your first business. And what I would tell you too is, you think about risk and leverage and all that with debt. The SBA, the rate of failure of SBA loans over the last 20 years is under 2%. So you got to basically think, all right, if the SBA gives me a loan, I basically have, a 98% chance that I'm going to at least keep the thing going as is and be able to pay off that loan, right? At least. So if you think you're better, if you think you're in the bottom 2% of, performers in business, like, then don't do this, right? But if you think you're better than that, or if you think you're in the top 10%, this is a really good way to really supercharge your wealth. So say you want to buy a business, and I wrote down some numbers here, that does around $1 million a year in sales. And let's say the margins are like 40% or something like that. So 40%. So the business is making $350,000 a year in what's called seller discretionary earnings, which is basically the money that's left over after everything. In bigger businesses, they'll call it EBITDA. In real estate, it's called net operating income. But either way, so SDE, discretionary earnings, and essentially, so you buy this business, you can do. The SBA requires 10% down. You can negotiate with the seller to put 5% down or hold 5% back, and then you put 5% down. So let's say the business is listed for $1 million, right? You basically have to come out of pocket with 50 grand. If you don't have 50 grand, you can raise that from your mama, your daddy, your friends, your uncle, whoever, right? And we could talk about how to structure that too. But assuming you got 50 G's, the seller holds back 50 G's. $900,000, note on a 10-year note. Principal and interest is about, let's call it, 10 grand a month. I'm being, whatever, roughly 10 grand a month. The business is making 350. After servicing the debt, if you just keep the business operating as usual and don't even rock the boat at all, you just satisfy the current clients that you have. You don't optimize anything. You don't even put together any new, social media or advertising marketing plans or anything. You're left with $230,000 a year in income, and it's taxed at a better rate than if you were a W-2 employee. So the point that I'm trying to make is if you and then just like real estate, as you operate the business, you're paying down the debt, right? Every month, right? You're paying down the debt, and hopefully you're improving. I don't know if we can be able to see this, and I don't know if I'm doing it right, but there becomes this widening gap of you're improving the value of the business, hopefully by implementing some of these new systems and bringing the business into like the next generation of technology. And then you're paying down the debt. And so over the course of, so you're making $230,000 a year. If you can invest back into that business, grow your business, and let's say over 10 years, you get that business to being, doing $2 million a year in sales. Not that hard to do in, let's just assume a 20%, that's a good growth rate, but you're working your ass off. Over at the end of 10 years, the business does $2 million a year in sales, and you kept the margins the same roughly. You're making $700,000 a year. If you just take that business and throw a 3x multiple on the $700,000 SDE, you could sell that business for $2.1 million. Now you just made $2 million, right? So in 5 years, let's say, let's say you could sell it for, $1.5 million, right? Less the debt, you made your $1 million there. You could also look at strategies to scoop up smaller competitors with some of that cash flow using the same SBA terms. So you can use this leverage as a starting point and find other bolt-on acquisitions. And I think, in my opinion, I love real estate. Real estate, I think, is the best business and the best way to build your wealth over time. But if you're looking to do it very quickly, I think finding a business where somebody's looking to retire and you can buy that and really optimize their systems and find ways to generate new revenue, that would be, in my opinion, the quickest way to become a millionaire.
Got it. Okay, that's a good one. All right, so let's go into the second one here in no particular order. Digital marketing agency. So I think this is a super lower barrier to entry business. If you look at, first starting, like you said, you need to know what you're doing, right? So you need to study up, become an expert in, social media, SEO, running ads, email marketing, Google Analytics, all these sort of things, right? But assuming you gain that experience, you go to all these local businesses, right? And find that, think about all the restaurants or local businesses that are similar to buying business that don't have any sort of digital marketing in play, right? They've been in that same location for 25 years and their customer base comes from because they're on Main Street in town. And they've just built a big customer base, but they have no website. They're doing zero digital marketing. You come into that business and say, hey, I'm going to do this for you for free, right? For the first couple customers, you come in, I'm going to do this for you for free, see how much sales I can grow for you. And you measure it, right? You do that, you see, okay, we added 20% in customers, take that testimonial, then you go out and generate more business leads and start charging for it, right? So I think that's a great business idea. I know it's a lot of people are doing it and seeing a lot of success. So I think it's a good lower barrier to entry business to get to. And one thing too, kind of running some rough numbers, if you were to doing some research, right, $3,000 a month can be a pretty average number for a business hiring a digital marketing agency to do all of their stuff. So if all you get is 28 clients at $3,000 a month, that's $1 million a year in sales. And then you think about, you got to build the business. You're going to have a team on the back end that's doing that. Let's say your margins are 30 or 40%. You're making $400,000 a year.
you could turn around and sell that business easily for 1.2 million bucks or something like that. There's $1 million. The other thing, a bonus, and something that I get the shiny ball syndrome, and there's a lot of things that I want to attack, but if I thought about starting over today a digital marketing business, if I had no money, that would probably be one of the first things that I would try, and I would try to do that really well, and then I'm going to guess that one of those 28 clients that you get might be looking to sell their business and retire at some point, and then go back to strategy number one, take out some debt, and so you see these guys that are really, really good at online marketing and social media and digital marketing, paid per click, all of that stuff, content marketing. You get really good at that, it opens up so many doors for you to be able to generate income and get new clients, and then also to look to acquire businesses as well. I think it's a great one.
It's a good way to parlay into that. Okay, the third one, online coaching and consulting. I think this is another great industry, obviously, that is booming. You're seeing tons of people making tons of money doing this industry. And I think with this, it starts with what industry have you had success in, right? So if you're thinking, okay, I would love to do that, right? You see all these people posting about the lifestyle of living and they have an online business.
Brock loves the guys that have the yachts and the Rolls Royces in Miami.
That's what really sells on Instagram is all the flashy stuff, right? So a lot of these guys are doing online, guys or girls doing online coaching. But okay, going back to not anyone, I think a lot of people think I'm gonna do this, right? But you have to have had success in a certain industry, right? Like how are you gonna go out and coach people if you haven't had success in that industry? And if you think through it, you've been successful in something throughout your life, right? Or you're an expert in something throughout your life. Maybe you're been working out for 20 years and you're in incredible shape, right?
Jacked.
Okay. Be a fitness coach.
Yeah.
Or maybe you have experience with social media, right? Or there's different things you can consult on. But first, starting with that, identify what your niche is. And if you don't have anything where you consider yourself an expert, maybe you study and become an expert in that industry and
spend some time obtaining experience. Exactly.
Before you start going out. But, I would say also on top of that, what you're saying is developing a personal brand, I think is, I launched my own coaching program a year or so ago, and having a personal brand is what really sells online coaching. I feel like without any sort of brand or people don't know who you are, it's very tough.
Yeah.
You could be the best in your industry, but if no one knows that and you haven't marketed to show people that, it's going to be tough to find customers. So, really, okay, once you identify all that, create an enticing offer. And one resource I'd recommend you check out is $100 Million Leads and $100 Million Offers by
Hormozy.
Yeah, those books are great and will give you much more information step by step of all the stuff we're talking about. So create an enticing offer. Start with that, right? Something some people are excited about. And start with giving it away for free. Similar to digital marketing agency is go out, create this offer and go out to 5 people that you know and say, hey, I'll coach you for free or I'll give you this resource for free. All I ask is that when you see success, give me a testimonial. Prove it works first, right? Prove there's a market for it. And I'll talk about the mistakes I've made when I went into this venture. I made a ton of wasted time doing different things. But prove there's an industry for it first and that it works.
Yeah.
Take that information, then market that to go out and find your customers. On top of that, I paid for a coaching program a while ago to help me actually do online coaching.
Yeah.
And
coaching the coaches.
Yeah. I got a lot of value out of it. But anyways, one of the things, and I'll talk about kind of where the mistake I made. A couple of years ago, I decided, okay, I want to try to get in this online coaching business for real estate, right? For syndication, because obviously we've had some success there. Yeah. I've done 13 syndication deals, right? We've proven out that we know what we're doing. So I started with creating a low ticket offer. I built out like this online course and underwriting model, and I was selling it for like $150, $200. And I put all this time into marketing, this big plan. I drafted up all this email campaign, and I'm like, I'm going to make a ton of money doing this.
Yeah.
Click
Get the
it out,
Rolls Royce and the yacht.
A ton of hours. Yeah, I was already thinking about, okay, I'm going to generate like $100,000 from this.
A month.
Like, it's going to be sweet. And like 5 people bought it, right? And I was like, oh, wow, that was, I had 50 hours I put into it. It wasn't really worth it, right? So learned a lot there. I mean, I did have some success. People took those resources and went on to have some success. But one big thing I learned from this coaching program I was in is a lot of people think start with low ticket, right? So start with selling that $100 online course and then work your way up into the $10,000 option. But it's vice versa. Start with high ticket, one-on-one, providing a ton of value and charge $10,000 to $15,000 a year and build that out first and then work your way into lower ticket once you've had success in there.
Yeah.
And I found that as soon as I made that flip, it 100x how much I was making from it.
Yeah. Now you think about it, and if we're putting some of these things all together in one, because that's what we try to do on the Winning Wealth podcast, is help our people, our listeners, our friends and family, and all of you guys out there. We want to help you guys get to where you want to be. Now, if I was just starting out, you get really, really good at some part of digital marketing, right? You start your digital marketing agency, you go get some clients, then you start an online coaching business, then you start a mastermind around digital marketing. Then you find, and you go buy some of those businesses, right? You just tied these three together, and now not even making $1 million bucks. You're talking about 3 million. You're talking about yachts and Rolls Royces and PJs if you like those, if you like flying private. I agree, man. I think coaching, and we should do a deep dive on coaching, the coaching business in general, on one of these podcasts. I think that would be a good episode, because a lot of people don't, there's so many of these coaching programs out there right now, and you can get a lot of value on it. I mean, honestly, I would say I've gotten more value in coaching programs that I've paid out of pocket for myself over the last 10 years or more than I got in my college degree.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
No doubt.
Yep.
So I totally agree there. The last one, we always got to talk about real estate. Like I said, it's the best business out there. It's the most tax advantaged business that I've found. You've got recurring revenue with long-term leases, where it's just customary for your tenants to pay on a monthly basis. So it's a subscription format. It's generally a longer term play to build wealth. And so the way that I look at it is how can we build a long-term portfolio where Brock and I, our asses have, or our heads have white hair, and our asses probably do too. And, we're, 60s or whatever plus, and we're still doing this real estate business. It's a long-term play. But then I look at where can I, buy or build businesses on the side that hopefully help that business as well to generate income as we're, building wealth and building out this company. But so if you have no money at first, really in real estate, the first place to start would either be flipping or wholesaling or becoming a real estate agent and learning the business that way. But if you're wholesaling or being a real estate agent, you're going to get commissions or you're going to get bonuses for finding deals and helping those deals transact. If you learn the flipping game, that can be really valuable for a strategy within commercial real estate, as you really learn how to repair these these properties, and you can make a big chunk of money and then pour that into another property and go bigger and bigger and bigger. And
I think wholesaling's like a great, that's where most people start, right? Because flipping could have a little bit more risk. With wholesaling,
there's no risk.
I've never wholesaled a deal, but I have friends that do it, and there's really no risk, right? You're going to go out, you're going to cold call, you're going to knock on doors, you're going to send out letters, right? Really a lot of time, but no dollar out of pocket generally. And you're going to find someone that's willing to sell their house for $100,000, and then you're going to go to the flipper that's willing to flip it and put up more risk and sell it to him for 120.
Yep.
Right? You made 20 grand.
Yep.
And you do some of those deals, right? And all of a sudden you got some money saved, and now you can start looking at, okay, now I'm going to start investing into properties and building wealth that way. So I think that's a great place to start. And you'll certainly learn a ton doing that, right? You'll learn more about real estate. You'll learn more about sales, cold calling. I mean, tons of good things you can learn there.
Typically you want to move from that then and get to a point where you're doing bigger commercial deals. If you want to make $1 million bucks or more, you got to get into bigger deals,
building equity
building equity rather than getting $20,000 fees here and there, right?
And that's where, when I first got into real estate, I bought a duplex, and then I was like stuck, like, okay, I have no more cash. How do I go next, right? And that's where I first went, was the flipping wholesaling, right? I was going to this local meetup and everyone was doing that. I'm hearing, I just made $50K on this flip. I'm like, all right, I need to get on this.
Yeah.
And I was going out at night. I was plopping signs in yards. I didn't know you did calling. I was sending out letters, doing all this. I think I saw walk through 10 or 15 properties. Never ended up getting a deal.
Yeah.
I think I would if I would have stuck with it. But then that's where I've talked about this story, the syndication picture kind of came to my mind. And I'm like, well, that's ultimately the end goal, right? If you look at most people in real estate, they start with wholesaling, they get into flipping, they might buy some property, and the end goal is always syndication or building a fund.
And that's where you met me.
That's where you make the big bucks.
We had our first date at Culver's. which is an ice cream shop.
Wasn't a date.
Yeah, Brock asked me out on a date to ice cream, which is funny if you know Brock, but no, not coffee, not lunch, not a drink. We went and got ice cream.
Ice cream, good. Culver's is a great.
We both almost skipped it, but
anyways, so then you go into, the next thing I would say is buy and hold, right? And this is the most common path you see people pursue, right? And it's nothing bad about it. I mean, I think traditionally, right? Okay, I can save 50 grand a year. I'm gonna set aside that. I'm gonna buy a duplex every year, one property a year, and 10 years from now, you're gonna have a pretty good portfolio that's gonna allow you to retire, right? And achieve that $1 million. It's gonna be a slower path though, right? I think it's a safe path, right? Of course, you still have to know what you're doing and buy the right deals. It's not a guaranteed path. You have to know what you're doing, but that's really a common path you see people is just they build this portfolio in silence over the years, and then they're 55 years old, and then they got this portfolio that's generating, it's all paid off. Like if I look at my dad, right? He bought 2 duplexes, got them all paid off by the time he's retiring, right? And that's throwing him $5 grand, whatever it is a month, and cash flow. And it's a nice supplemental.
Everybody should do that, no matter what.
Sure.
That should be part of everybody's portfolio.
But going a step further, syndication, right? And I know we've talked about this in the pod a number of times, but to reiterate quickly what syndication is, essentially it is a partnership of people going out and buying a property, right? So there's the general partnership group, which is in our example, myself, Jeff, and Adam, Smart Asset Capital. We're going to go out and find these properties, look at the 100 deals, underwrite them, offer on them, get the debt put together. And then for that property, let's say we're buying a $4 million property, we need $1 million in cash to buy it, right? $3 million going to come from the bank, we need $1 million. We're going to go out to an investor base. We might have 10, 15 investors that are going to write checks into these deals. And those are the limited partners. You can look at those like silent investors, right? They don't have decision-making authority. They're not signing on the debt. They're 100% passive. They're going to write the check, and then they're going to get quarterly distributions and quarterly updates. In return for doing that, right, the general partnership group like us, you're going to take equity upside and you're going to take fees, right? So we could take, generally 30% equity. So on a $1 million equity in a deal, that's $300,000 that's added to net worth.
Yep.
Fees, right? There's a ton of other ways you can structure these deals. I won't go too deep into that, but that's where it becomes super lucrative, is if you can find the deals and raise the money, you can build $1 billion portfolio.
And the bigger the deal, right? Say, add a zero, right? Not a $1 million deal. Let's say it's a $10 million deal, right? And
$3 million in equity. Yeah.
Well, if there's $10 million of equity, right? But the upside, and then you have leverage on these deals, debt. And so if you take a $10 million property and you increase the value of the rents and increase the value of the property, and now maybe it's worth $15 million. Because you did a bunch of value add. Now you really got to know what you're doing to do that. But that $5 million in additional equity, you're taking 30% of that, right? You just created $2 million worth of equity in, like that, And so that's where the big money and the big returns can happen. With all this stuff, obviously you've got to really know what you're doing. You've got to get educated, and you got to commit to it. And you got to eat, sleep, and breathe it, and really live it, and become the person that is able to go do this stuff. You can't just wing it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't think this is certainly, building into syndication or partnering with someone. Like I use myself as an example, right? When I got into syndication, I had 1 duplex. Yeah. I read all the books, right? Like was studying it for a long time. But I didn't have a ton of experience. You had a little bit more experience than me, but somewhat similar boat. Yeah. But we partnered with Adam. We had him on the podcast.
A lot more experience.
Go check his podcast out to get more insight there. But he had a lot of experience, right? So we were able to lean on him for the experience side of things and build that way. And of course, we do more deals. Now we have the experience to be able to use that. So I think that's super critical. Is generally, start with some of these other buckets and work your way into syndication. Generally, there's certainly instances where you can go right into it. But I wanted to give an example there too to kind of highlight my path specifically. The title of the podcast is Getting to $1 Million, right? So May 2018 is when I bought that duplex. Got into syndication. 3.5 years later, so November 2021, I went from a negative net worth in that first duplex to achieving $1 million net worth. So a 3.5 year cycle from just getting into real estate to achieving that $1 million.
That's pretty quick. That's pretty quick. And that's about doing things all the right way. Obviously, you got to back it up with a lot of work. Brock works nights, weekends. I work all the time. I think I always think about Snoop Dogg when he accepted an award and he was like, I want to thank me for working every single day, taking no days off. And Brock epitomizes that. So he did all the right things and really was able to go from doing smaller real estate deals to bigger real estate deals and achieve, that 7-figure net worth. So if you were starting at zero today, which strategy would you go all in on? I think we just covered 4 good ones.
Which one would you choose though? I'll flip that back to you quick, then I can answer it. If you're listening to this podcast right now, you're starting at zero, you're like, I need to figure something out. I want to be an entrepreneur. Of these 4, which one would you choose?
That's a hard question. Like I would either go real estate, and that's probably what I would do. I think it's the best business to be in. Or, I mean, you can do, like I've mentioned earlier, you can do a combination of these things. If I had no money, I would really, really if I was just coming out of college, no money, I would really study digital marketing, because no matter what, even if you are going to do a real estate business, that's a really good skill to have. If you get really good at building a personal brand, learning social media marketing, learning SEO, learning pay-per-click, and Google AdWords and Google Analytics and all that stuff, and you get really good at that, you can sell those services. You could then turn around and sell those services to businesses, but you could sell coaching programs to help other people get that. And then you could find businesses to buy that, would be your clients. And so all those things work really well. It's kind of what it goes back to, understanding and knowing yourself too, right? What do you like more? Are you more drawn to real estate? Are you more drawn to helping businesses grow their brand and your own brand, right? And then, you got to figure out which path you want to go. I think, in 2024, those are all very relevant paths to get to a 7-figure net worth.
Okay. Yeah. I would say mine is twofold. If you're, depending on what your long-term vision is, if your long-term vision is you want to build something massive and like reach billionaire status almost, I think getting into like syndication, fundraising, private equity to buy big real estate is the best path to go. I think from a long-term perspective, you hear it all the time. People build very successful businesses, and then in their second half of their career, they go into private equity because there's just, if you look at the number of billionaires on the Forbes list, private equity is the dominant factor there. That being said, I think if I were to go back and start from zero right now, the quickest path to get to $1 million is digital marketing agency, I think. Because I think there's such a demand for it right now, and lowest barrier to entry is really, to me, the quickest path. So it really just depends. I mean, what's your long-term goal, right? Or you have the patience to wait a long time to get there? Or is it like, no, I want something now, and then maybe later on in life, I'll get into that? That's up to you. Quickly here, and then we'll wrap, is we touched on at the beginning a little bonus business idea. And I know we were talking about this a little bit on our pre-call.
Let's hear it.
And I think it's a great idea. Jeff was a little bit more on the fence about it, but a biohacking lounge. So those that don't know what biohacking is, there's people, the 2 main influencers right now in that space are Gary Brecka and Andrew Huberman. I follow both of them. I think it's great. I've implemented a lot of these things in my life and just seen a huge performance increase. But more and more people are hearing about it. Like, I was talking to my dad the other day, and like, he doesn't even really know how to use it.
He's trying to biohack.
And he's like, I've been watching this Gary Brecka guy.
Yeah.
He's like, I want to do these things. And you're just hearing more and more people talk about these different things you can implement in your life. But the problem is a lot of these, there's certain like free strategies like cold showers and breathing exercises, which are great. But a lot of things they talk about are very expensive, right? Yeah. A cold plunge or red light therapy.
So you're not going to go buy them on your own and have them in your apartment.
Unless you have the means. And of course, certainly you could, if you had the means to go buy them. You need another room in your apartment. Like for me, like I live in a 1-bedroom apartment. I don't really have a place for a cold plunge and a red light. That like, it's just a huge sauna change in your life, right? I have to move to a house and kind of set it up that way. So the idea is creating like a lounge sort of experience, like a nice experience where you could go in, right, have a cold plunge, hot tub, sauna, red light therapy, oxygen chamber, alkaline mats, all these things they talk about that are part of the biohacking sphere. And it's a monthly membership, right? Yeah. So you set it up in a retail space, you come in, you can use all of this equipment, and it might be a couple $100 a month. And you go in there. I mean, I haven't seen anything like this. I think I've seen certain in bigger cities, something similar. Yeah. But I know there's nothing like that in Milwaukee. And I think if you set something up like this, I'd be the first customer. I'd
be a customer as well. I know a lot of people that would. The other benefit, we met a guy at a private equity fund conference in Salt Lake City recently, and his business partner is starting one of these. It's also got a gym there, which is awesome. and they go kind of hand in hand. But he's starting one in San Diego area, and basically the other benefit that you get there, so you get people on a subscription membership. Let's call it $500 a month, right? With the gym involved as well. And you've got all this stuff, and it's like a higher end clientele. And now you're hanging out with people that are interested in this stuff too, that likely own businesses, that likely are doing big things. So you're kind of curating the people around you because you're all interested in longevity, performance, optimization, right? So you there's a lot of benefits to that, and I think it's a great idea because of that. But
so if someone decides to implement this, let us know. We'll sign up, and I'd love to be a part of it. All right, thanks for listening to the podcast. On this episode, we went through our 4 business ideas to get you to $1 million. Number 1 was buying an existing business. Number 2 was real estate. Number 3 was a digital marketing agency. And number 4 was an online coaching business. And we threw in a little plug at the end there too with a business idea. I think these are all great business ideas. Obviously, they've been around for a long time, but are tried and true industries where I think there's a ton of opportunity to scale in. So if you found value out of this, please subscribe. Let us know in the comments if you decide to implement one of these businesses and how this episode added value to that journey. Appreciate you for listening.
Share it with your friends, and go ahead and take your mouse and hover over that like button and smash it. Smash the like button and share it with your friends. We greatly appreciate it. We greatly appreciate everyone that listens, and we love all of you. Thanks so much.